Osimhen's failed move to Chelsea about a season or so ago, was crazy to me. And what was even more disappointing wasn't the fact that he didn't end up coming to Chelsea, a club I support, because it happens every day. You have agents, you have players not agreeing on terms of salaries or wages, length of contract, players filling medicals and things like that. So it does happen. A player could, while negotiating with the club, could decide that he doesn't want to come to the club. The club could decide that the player, is not who they want. But the entire narrative around Victor Osimhen's, purported move at the time to Chelsea gave me cause for concern, gave me cause to think, caused me to really deeply reflect about the challenges of the Nigerian footballer. Now, Victor Osimhen had scored 26 league goals for Napoli the season prior. He had helped the Naples side win, their first Scudetto in over 3 decades. And he was in red hot form. Although he fell out with the club at some point due to some social media posts, mocking him despite the fact that he was a player, he scored a penalty, he missed a penalty, and they decided to mock the player. Now, a lot of people at the time when the move to Chelsea failed, a lot of people, including Nigerians as well, were going really crazy, especially Nigerian Chelsea fans. Oh, he should have reduced his wage demands. Some even say some crazy things like, how would you want to earn more than Cole Palmer? Cole Palmer, wonderful player. But Victor Osimhen, whilst he was playing Champions League for Lille, while he was playing and scoring goals for Charleroi in the Belgian league, Cole Palmer was still playing in the academy. Now, Cole Palmer is a very important player for Chelsea, no doubt, a player I really like. But you have to look at the stage of their development, where they are in their career, or where they were in their careers at that time. So it got me thinking: is there real value for the Nigerian player, internally, externally? And what are the challenges that Nigerian players face? Now, I thought about, I thought a bit, and I came to these conclusions. First off, grassroots level, the way football is set up in Nigeria is poor, is stacked up against the Nigerian player. For instance, Arsenal have a young, bright wonder kid, Max Dolman, young player, 15 years old, already played a friendly game for Arsenal, preseason friendly game for Arsenal. Hopefully, he achieves great things in his career. But and possibly he possibly would have been at Arsenal since he was 8 or 6 or something like that, and has progressed through the ranks, up to this point where he's made his preseason, his, I wouldn't say full debut, but made his debut nonetheless for Arsenal. And maybe by January, when he turns 16 next year, he gets to make his full debut for Arsenal. But when you look at Nigeria, for instance, how many MPFL clubs can say we've got this player from the academy, we've got this, 18-year-old from the academy, we've got this 19-year-old from the academy? No, the pathway to these clubs is very difficult. It's difficult for these players. A lot of these players don't flow through an under 6 system, an under 8 system. They don't get to be part of the ecosystem of a club in the Nigerian Premier League, the Nigerian Premier Football League. Now, fair play to some academies, some grassroots academies that give these players opportunities and help them go to Europe. Fair play to them. But then again, when you look at the league itself, you could see the highest goal scorer in the Nigerian Premier Football League could end up leaving that league to go play for an Austrian third division side, to go play for a Latvian second division side, where maybe he earns $250 a month, a week, or earns $500 a month. Now, that would come up to $1,000 a month, but in some cases they earn $500 a month. So that shouldn't be the case. Now in Brazil, you never would see that. You never would hear that the top talent, the highest goal scorer in the Brazilian league, ends up in the third division league anywhere. Same thing with the Argentine league. Estavayo Willian, he's not quite 19. Hell, he's just 18. He's already valued at over £50 million. He was valued at over £50 million a year or 2 seasons ago. And possibly by the time he joins Chelsea, his value will probably shoot up to maybe £100 million. Who knows? Franco Mustuano, Argentine wonder kid, leaves River Plate and will be heading straight up to Real Madrid come, the start of next season. But Nigerian player doesn't have those luxuries. You have to battle, scratch your way up the ranks, find ways, play for an academy and see if a second division club would recognize you, or a club in Norway or Denmark would recognize your abilities and sign you. And even when you're signed, because of the value placed on Nigerian players, you are not really seen as a top talent. You're really seen as someone that comes in, develops, and is sent on. And now, another area that the Nigerian player face huge challenges is the promotion around the player, the narrative around the player. Now, I've said this to a couple of people in other forums, and that is, talent is key. You must have some level of talent. You must have some talent. You can't, have the inability to trap a football and then in narrative would push you to a high level. No, you must have some level of talent, and then the narrative pushes you to that superstardom level. Estavayo Willian had a narrative around him. Now, for the likes of Ariel Kwarabo in Nigeria, he doesn't have the narrative around him, else he should be already in a Premier League team, maybe in the academy of one of those teams at the very least. But he's playing in the Norwegian league right now, so fair play to him. Fair play. He's signed by Lillestrøm, and he would now be loaned to Mjøndalen, still in the Norwegian league. So fair play. Let's see how that shakes out. Hopefully, it works out well for him. And then the next thing is who we allow give the narrative about Nigerian players. I'm not saying other people from other countries are not allowed to talk about Nigerian players. Of course they are. Of course. Football, that's the beauty of football. Everyone is allowed to have an opinion about players, about teams, about who's good or who's not. But sometimes we give validation to people who don't even know that much about Nigerian players. And they sort of downplay the value of Nigerian players. I've watched various videos where people have talked about Victor Osimhen like he was some scrub. And this is how they usually sound when they start. I don't quite know the player, but I think he has attitude issues. I don't quite know the player, but I think he's just a level below Jamie Vardy. Now, if someone came to you to sell you a product, and you asked him, what does this product do for you? What are the functions of this product? The person said, I don't quite know that much about this product, but I think you should buy it. Wouldn't you look at that player side-eyed? At that person side-eyed? Wouldn't you think that person is a fraudster? But apparently, when it comes to Nigerian players, when it comes to Nigerian footballers, we choose to believe those people. Maybe because they're European, and maybe we undervalue our players right off the bat. We undervalue the intellect that we have right off the bat. But for me, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to do that. Never been willing to do that. I will not be willing to do that. So the challenges, and then in the challenges Nigerian player faces is finances. The league, Nigerian Premier Football League, the financial compensation is poor. And let's face it, financial compensation, football is a job for footballers. We as fans, we want to watch a game, we want to watch the best players play for clubs, but it's a job for them. That's how they feed their families. That's how they take care of themselves. That's how they, build houses if they want to do, start businesses if they want to do. And it's their job, it's their livelihood. So you see them running away from the MPFL. And then when they leave the shores of the Nigerian Premier of Nigeria, you don't have that support around these players. You don't have the narrative support around these players. And it's very, very important. Look at Mark Dorman. By the time he gets to 18, I'm sure he would be 120, 150 million pounds. And his talent will contribute to it 100%. But what else would also contribute to it? The narrative put around the player. And these challenges also affect, dual nationals when it comes to getting dual nationals to playing for Nigeria. Because they think to themselves, I get harsh narrative, I'm getting positive narrative right now from Belgium, let's say, they used to play for Belgium, or from the English media, from the Belgian media, from the Italian media. But once I choose to play for Nigeria, those positive narratives from English media, from Belgian media, from Italian media would evaporate. And for Nigeria, we don't get I wouldn't get a similar positive narrative coming up from the Nigerian media about me. And do you know what happens? That affects the brand of the player. And once again, is their livelihood. That is why you see players that think a lot before deciding to play for Nigeria. And that is why when it comes to getting the best of the best dual nationals to play for Nigeria, we always lose out. Because when you think about it, why should I? And then that is why we end up getting the bottom of the barrel, the ones that England didn't really care about, the ones that Spain would have much rather spat out than have in their team. And I said this about Ademola Lookman. Kudos to him. But he wasn't at the time, his trajectory at the time didn't show that, he's going to be a world-class talent. And that's why he just fell on the laps of, the administrator of the Nigerian Football Federation. So, the Nigerian footballers face these challenges. And we also get it from Nigerian fans as well. I'm sure someone in the comments will jump on here and say, he's only saying this because he wants validation from some Nigerian footballer. Don't worry, I eat well. I eat good, I live well. No one pays my bills. So get that out of your head. People say, I was watching a Liverpool fan, he's a content creator, I'm not going to call his name because each time you mention the name of anybody, they're like, oh, you were clout chasing. No, keep your clout to wherever it is. They're, I don't want Victor Osimhen in my club because all these Nigerians will be creating narrative around him, But you like the narrative created around Hugo Ekitike. You do. You enjoy the narrative created around Cole Palmer, putting him at the same level with the Lionel Messi. You do. You enjoy it. But for some reason, Nigerian players don't deserve, any positivity around them. Now, don't get me wrong. If a player isn't good, you're well within your right to say he's not good. But when you see a player is good enough, you don't go downplaying the player. You see all these challenges that Nigerian players face. That's why the brand of Nigerian football is deteriorating. Because the product is the player. And if the product is good, if the product is seen as bad, the factory will be seen as worse. and no one would care about the factory. But if the product is good, then people want to know about the factory. If the players are deemed to be good, then people say, oh, I would like to get a piece of that. And to end this video, I'll say this. Do you know why Brazilian players are valued so highly? Do you know why Argentine players are valued so highly? Now, of course, they have skills. They have ability on the ball. A lot of them do. But what pushes them to the next level, what makes European clubs desperate for these players, is the narrative that has been built on for years based on what Pele has done, of blessed memory, what Maradona has done, what Maradona did, of blessed memory. Because clubs now, they want to get a piece of Maradona, they want to get a piece of Pele. And I'm sure that's why Barcelona made all the sacrifices they had to make to get Lionel Messi. Because they wanted to get a piece of that Maradona magic. And until we begin to appreciate that, the power of positive narratives around the players, because they already have it tough anyways. The system has failed them. The Nigerian grassroots system has failed them. The NPFL has failed Nigerian players. So this point comes to the end of this video, and hopefully I'll see you on another video. Have a blessed day. Stay well. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.